It's your man Alex, and in this video I'm going to be showing you guys my third ever attempt at a completely free-handed self haircut using absolutely no guards. Now, I made a massive mistake during the haircut, so make sure you stay tuned so I can tell you exactly how you can avoid this mistake for your self haircuts. Let's get right into it. So as per usual, we're going in with the first guideline with our trimmers. I'm using my Glaker trimmers, which were about $20. I think I got them last year, so really solid trimmers. Got them off TikTok, so surprisingly, they're really good, and I've been using them for well over a year, and they're solid trimmers. So again, putting in the first guideline, going up with the trimmers. This is the bald guideline, and I'm doing like a very sharp downward angle, and I am raising it a little bit higher on the sides as well, because from what I've experienced over the past two free-handed self haircuts, I tend to bring the fade up pretty high on the sides and back. So I like to drop it a little bit further because I know as I'm freehanding it, I just magically tend to push the fade really high. So I'm just making sure that I start the first guideline low, so I naturally, go with how I cut my hair anyway, which is pushing it really high for freehands. So that's what I'm doing, and that's why you see a very sharp drop. So it starts really high on the temples, and then it drops significantly toward the back of my head. And one important thing I need you guys to understand about the freehanding self haircut is that this is literally the highest level of skill that you can take self haircutting. Like I've thought about it, I've pondered on it. This is probably the hardest way you could ever cut your own hair. And so just so you know, for you watching at home, this is not a beginner, this is not an intermediate. I wouldn't even say this is an advanced level skill set. This is kind of so high up the totem pole that it's more like crazy. It's like beginner, intermediate, advanced, crazy, right? There's 4 levels and it's on the highest. It's crazy. So if I'm just watching this video, I wouldn't necessarily take all of this to heart and be like, oh, I want to cut my own hair doing freehanding technique and then save maybe 30 minutes on the haircut. That's great, but the skill itself is very challenging. So I'm telling you right now, if you're not an advanced self haircutter already, please don't waste your time, because you are going to end up jacking your haircut, real fast, faster than you can say hello. And so now moving forward with the haircut, I'm going in with the no guard lever open, and you can see I'm going up with I'd say like a 1/2 inch guideline, but I'm also swooping up in one big sweeping motion all the way up into the longer length. So the no guard lever open is about 1/2 an inch before I start to slowly lift the back blade away from my head as I'm still going up my head. So this is where the freehanding is actually taking place, and it's very difficult to do. And I think if I'm going to do this again and continue to learn how to do this skill and master the freehanding skill set, which I'm definitely far from, I think the next time I would do it, I would put in a legitimate guideline first to remove all that bulk on the bottom. So it's like it's put in the first guideline with a trimmer, and then do like a 1/2 inch guideline with the no guard lever open. And then after that guideline is in, I would go in and start the freehand going up, now that I have somewhat of a base, like a foundation underneath. So that's what I would do differently in the next one. So maybe in the next one you'll see me do that. But sometimes the swipes were good, and then sometimes the swipes were uneven, right? Especially the left side, you'll notice that as I'm going up, there's little mountains, peaks and valleys of dark spots, and I'm just like, what the heck? How is this but that's again, it goes back to, this is one of the hardest things you would ever do for a self haircut. So what are you expecting, really, especially for your third attempt? So again, it's just one of those things where you have to be very mindful and you have to be very careful of what it is that you're actually doing. And not to mention, there's so many different variables when you're giving yourself a free-handed self haircut. For example, not everybody's heads are perfectly parallel and straight, right? We have so many indents and ridges and like bumps within our head that just makes it really challenging to do something like this. That's why, just having the guards and putting in the different guidelines and fading out all the hard lines, yeah, it is a lot more work. Yeah, it does take a long time, longer, I'd say, for most people. But the fact of the matter is, it's meant to be helpful, and it's meant to be like training wheels for the self haircut. So you have to take it with a grain of salt and just know that, your scalp, just like mine, is very uneven. Like our head shapes are very weird. So it's not going to be a perfect, oh, let me just swipe straight up parallel and it's going to be great. There's so many micro adjustments that you need to make when freehanding with the clipper, because the hair coloring is just so, like 1 millimeter difference makes such a difference in the color of the fade. So you have to be you have to really recognize that this is a challenging haircut. So this, again, there's another variable that you guys need to understand if you're going to even attempt to do something like this. And so right now I'm going in with the no guard lever halfway and closed to remove that bottom hard line. So like a normal fade, just to fade out that bottom hard line, going in with the no guard lever halfway. This is basically going to soften up the hard line by about 50%. And then afterwards, once I go all the way around my head, I'm going to go back to the same exact line with the no guard lever closed. And then I'm going to flick out from underneath, up, hit it, and then flick away with like a C motion, right? Like the capital letter C, just flick away, like a circular C motion. And typically that will get rid of around 90-ish% of the hard line. And if you need to, depending on if your clippers are zero gapped or not, you might have to go back to the trimmers and just flick out the rest of that hard line just using the trimmers again.
Do not go gentle into that good night.
Okay, so this is the part where I started to mess up with the freehand, and I'm really upset with myself because literally looking at what I'm like after reviewing the footage, which I recommend to everybody who cuts their own hair to record themselves so you can review the footage, right? Just like for soccer games or basketball or baseball, whatever, you review the footage. I'm reviewing this footage and I'm like, yo, why didn't I just use the thinning shears right here? Like, why did I go, like, look at all that hair. Oh my, look at all that hair I'm just yanking off with the no guard lever open. I should have literally just grabbed the thinning shears, especially right here. Oh my, look at the oh no, that one right there killed me. Oh my god, look at this, so bad. I dug such a deep hole. Look at that. Oh my gosh, such a deep hole I dug right there, and I had to go back in. I can't show you guys all the footage because we'd be here for a while, but I jacked it up on that right side. Look at that. That's marvelously. Look at, oh, I'm feeling it. Like, did I just do that? Like, I must have zoned out. I must have been distracted. I must have had something. I must have had food on my mind. Like, I must have been hungry. I don't know what was going on in my head, but I lost it right there. And you can see even the fade right here. That looks atrocious. So I ended up spending like the next 40 minutes, like basically redoing the haircut. And you guys aren't going to see a whole bunch of that. Otherwise, the video would be for, a long video. But I ended up going back and having to, basically remove all of the hair by my part line. And then I had to cut off like a full inch of hair off the top of my head because I looked like Humpty Dumpty. I look goofy right? I looked goofy with all that hair. I looked like a weird undercut, right? Bowl cut type of thing. So I had no choice but to literally cut a whole bunch of hair off the top of my head to make this work. Otherwise, it would have looked awful, right? So I did a whole bunch of thinning shear over comb work. Look at this. Look at that scissor technique, boy. That's nice. I did a whole bunch of trimming, like an inch or so off the top, texturizing while cutting off a whole bunch of length. And you know, I was frustrated. I was frustrated with myself. You know, I'm not surprised really that, you know, my third ever attempt giving myself a haircut like this. So I can't be too mad at myself. I can't be too surprised that this happened, but I was still really upset. And just looking at the footage right now, I'm just like, dang, man, look how round my head looks now because I had to cut all the hair off by my part line. Like all that beautiful hair by my part line that keeps the nice vertical shape of my head, I had to cut all of it off. So now I look like Humpty Dumpty with a bowl cut. This is my failed third attempt at a free-handed self haircut. The big question of the day is, did I save this haircut at the end or did I make it worse? Let me know in the comments below what you think. But make sure you leave a like, subscribe to my channel, and check out this video if you want to take your self haircuts to the next level.